I have two very curious cats in the room with me, so hopefully they will behave. We got one in the window over here, and one is lurking in all the lighting. You wanna say hi, Murphy? Come here. Come here. He doesn't want to say hi. Anyway, hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam, and we're gonna be doing a mid-month wrap-up. It's been quite a while since I've done one of these. I haven't really been reading enough throughout the months in order to do these, but somehow I've already finished 14 books in the month of January. So that's really good. I would say my reading is getting off to a good start in the new year in 2025. So we're gonna do mid-month wrap-up to make things a little easier on myself at the end of the month, okay? And I can be a little long-winded, so this saves both of us some trouble. All right, so let's get started. Book one that I finished is Family Ties. I think, yes, Family Ties, and this is book 4 in the Morelli family series by Sam Mariano. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one. So we're following Francesca and Sal or Salvatore. So you meet Salvatore in, I believe it's book 1, possibly book 2. And he is from a warring mafia family. So they don't like him. The Morelli family, they don't like him. But he shows up at this bakery that the Morelli family owns, and that's what Francesca, that's like her thing. She runs it, and Francesca is Matteo's sister. Matteo is like head of the mafia, head of the household, okay? And they like each other. At first, Sal lies to her and tells her he's someone else. So they really hit it off, but then when she finds out like who he is, she's like, we can't do this. How can we even do this? But there's a connection there that neither one of them can deny. So they start dating in secret, and then the whole thing blows up. This was just so freaking good. And Sal is such an underrated hero in this series. Like, he's got just enough of goodness in him where you really root for him, but he's also ruthless enough and kind of like twisty enough where you're like, okay, yeah, he is a Sam Mariano hero, but he's not your typical Sam Mariano hero. I really enjoyed this one. Great installment to the series, I think. And then the next book that I read was actually recommended to me on Instagram, and this is a historical fiction series. So this is Windswept. This is book 1 in the Windswept saga by Annabelle McCormack. And this one is set in World War I, which so far I haven't read many things set in World War I. So we are following Ginger, Lady Virginia. She is from a very wealthy family. Her father is, I want to say he's like the British ambassador, and they are currently in Palestine. So Ginger actually, she wants to do more than just be, you know, the daughter of a very wealthy man, a very high society, very powerful man. So she decides that she is going to be a nurse in the British Army, and she is stationed in Palestine. So one day when she is at work, she comes across a Turkish soldier who is injured, and she knows she shouldn't help him, but she does. And he ends up relaying a secret to her that he is currently carrying intel that proves a secret plot against the British. Like, there are people inside, you know, the army, inside of the British workings that are trying to take down the British. She does not know what to do with this, and this information that she is entrusted with, she's like, okay, I have to see this through. I have to figure out if what this man was saying was actually true, and if so, who's behind it. And so this leads her on this like epic adventure through Palestine. There is betrayal. There are so many secrets, so many lies, so many twists and turns in this book. And while all of this is going on, there's also a really beautiful love story. This book was so much fun to read. I am very much looking forward to continuing the series. These are also on Hoopla, so if you have access to Hoopla, the audiobooks are great. And yeah, I would highly recommend this one if you're looking for like something a little different, a little bit of mystery with also a love story set in a historical time. Check this one out. Okay, now we're completely changing gears and we're going into a dark romance, and this is Counts of Eight by Bryn Ford. This is book 1 in the Four Families series. This is a very dark romance. So I picked this one up because it was Baron from the Book Baron's #1 book of 2024. And I'm like, okay, I need to see what this is. And after looking on Goodreads, there were so many of my friends who had read this and gave it a 5 stars. So I was in the mood for a more dark, gritty romance book, and I'm so glad that I picked this one up. I ended up giving this one a 4 star, possibly 4.5. I think the beginning part was maybe just a tad bit too slow for me, but once things really picked up, ooh, I could not put this book down. So we are following Anya and Ezra. My cat, yep, Cookie, get out of here. I told you all, it is pure chaos. Okay, anyway, we are following Anya and Ezra. Now, Anya has been captured by Nikolai, who is one of the like heads of these 4 families who are just very wealthy families, and they have these really weird like parties that each family will put on, and they want to have the best entertainment. And so Anya has been captured for years. She's been held captive by Nikolai, and she is a trained ballet dancer, and she has had partners that Nikolai will also kidnap and bring them in order to put on this show for the 4 families. But her dance partners always end up never working out, and then she never sees them again. And so she tries not to get too attached to them because she's learned throughout the years, hey, they're not going to be here. They're leaving. And so she can sense that Nikolai is growing a little bored of her, and she's afraid that he is going to like kill her, you know? And so when Ezra comes in, he is a very attractive, young, contemporary dancer, and she can tell right away that he is different. He fights against Nikolai, he fights against her, and these 2 find such a connection in each other in just the worst time in their life. You have Anya, who is very much used to this, and she's just like, okay, we have to do this because if you don't comply, I'm gonna be the one that has to suffer the consequences. And so she's trying to whip Ezra into shape, and he's like, no, I'm not doing it. F you, basically. But then once he starts to realize that she is gonna be the one punished, he falls in line, sort of. But the way that these 2 were able to just have little like snippets sort of real life and a real connection, and they would like steal away little moments and have just this thing for themselves, was beautiful. It was beautiful. This one again had me on my toes, and then at the very end, the cliffhanger on this one, I really need to pick up book 3, which I know that the cliffhanger that they leave you off on, it's not really gonna happen, but I need to pick up book 2. So here we are. This, very good, but check your trigger warnings, okay? Check them. Okay, switching gears entirely again, we have The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. This is a historical fiction set in 1934 in the panhandle of Texas in the Dust Bowl era. So we follow Elsa, who is from a very wealthy family, but she is sort of the ugly duckling of the family, and she wants kind of more. She's not okay with being, just someone's wife. She kind of rebels against that. But one day she meets Rafe, this young, very handsome boy who is also struggling with kind of his family's expectations that they have put on him. And so these 2 find a very, unlikely friendship in each other, and they end up having sex, and then she gets pregnant. And so when she goes to her family and tells them, they do not take it too well, and they literally make her pack up her bags, and they take her to Rafe's family's house, and they drop her off. She's never to see her again. She doesn't hear from them ever again in her life. So you follow Elsa and her story with her 2 children and her and Rafe's relationship, and then the relationship that she has with Rafe's parents. And when the Dust Bowl hits and things get really hard and her son ends up in the hospital because of all the dust that he is breathing in, the doctor tells her, you need to get him out of here. Like, if you want him to live, you need to get him out of here. And so this is also during the time that a lot of people were migrating over to California. So she packs up her 2 children and they head out for California, where they think they're going to be given a better life, or at least have the opportunity to have a better life. And when they get there, they realize, nope, nothing here is better. The land isn't trying to kill us, but nothing here is better. We're treated like subpar human beings, and still the resources that they were able to have and the very little money that they were able to make, people definitely took advantage of these migrants' situation and their desperation. And so you just follow her and her children throughout this very difficult time in their lives. And oh my gosh, Elsa, that woman, she deserved the world. She deserved the absolute world. I sobbed in this book, which if you've ever read a Kristen Hanna, you know how they go, okay? They break your heart. They absolutely destroy you. And this one was no different. 5 stars. This might be my second favorite Kristen Hanna book. Yeah, I think this knocked The Women out of the number 2 place because I just loved this. Elsa as a mother and just the things she was willing to do. Oh, this was so freaking good. So good. Okay, and then we have book number 5 in the Morelli family series, and that is Resisting Matteo. This one, I cannot really tell you anything about this book because you have to read these books in order. And this one is definitely very heavily wrapped up in the plot of book 1 and book 2. So I can't really tell you anything because I don't want to give anything away, but this book absolutely frustrated the hell out of me, okay? The hell out of me, because Matteo, what are we doing? What are we doing here? So, okay, Murphy is about to fall off the desk. Are you okay, bud? You got it. Good job. Good job, you got it. I don't think he has it. Let me help him. I haven't actually rated this one on Goodreads because I'm still kind of grappling with what I want to rate it. Like, oh, this one is the book that made me be like, okay, I need to put the series down because I'm just so pissed and I'm aggravated. But also the way that Sam Mariano was able to bring out those emotions in you, I think just speaks to the level of her writing and the way that she's able to have these characters that just pull such like, ooh, visceral reactions out of you. So I don't know, I'm still undecided on this one. I still love the series, but I needed to put it down for a second. Just like, I need a break. So the next book that I picked up is The AntiBoooy Friend by Penelope Ward, and I gave this one 4 stars. So this is a very fun, like, contemporary romance. We are following Karis and Deacon. Now, Karis is a single mother to a beautiful baby girl named Sunny who has Down syndrome, and the father wants nothing to do with the baby because him and Karis's relationship was while he was separated from his wife. They were divorced, but I think once he found out that she was pregnant was right around the time that his wife decided, oh, hey, I want to, like, let's try to make this work again. And so in order for him to do that, he had to completely, like, disown Karis and Sunny. So she's a struggling single mom, and she lives next door to Deacon, who is just a very hot bachelor. They haven't had many interactions, you know, never like negative or a positive reaction. She's just very curious about him, and she can definitely hear the things going on in his bedroom because they share walls and the walls are very thin. And so she decides one day to address it and be like, hey, I'm really sorry to do this, but I can hear you when you have your girls over, and like, I'm taking care of a baby and I need my sleep. And Deacon is so understanding, and the two of them have just such a beautiful friendship that blossoms from this one interaction. I loved the slow burn of their relationship. The way that it just developed felt so real and so natural. And then even the things that came up, the conflicts in here, the way they handled it was so natural and so realistic. This was so good. And the way that Deacon got so protective of Sunny, adorable. He, seemingly this playboy who didn't want to settle down at all, but then you see him with Sunny and he is just like head over heels for her, and he's actually really, really good with her. It was just adorable and my heart melted. Okay, next up we have Unforgivable by Isabel Love. This book I also gave a 4-star rating to. So we are following Anna and Wes. Now, this book is told in past and present, and I don't typically love that, but this one worked for me. Okay, it's very rare that these work for me, but this one did. So Anna and Wes meet when they are in, well, I think Anna might be in middle school and Wes might be like early high school, or maybe he's like about to be out of middle school. But Wes is in foster care and he has just moved to the town where Anna and her brother live. And she notices right away that people are like really starting to be mean to Wes, and she decides one day that she's going to jump in and save him from a fight. And that sort of brings him into their family. So Wes and her brother become really good friends, and he starts hanging out at their house constantly. And so not only is he forming a bond with her family, but they share a really special bond too. And then that turns into them both having feelings for each other. But Wes is, like I said, he's in foster care. He's never had really a good life, like good role models for him. And he knows that he thinks he's not good enough for Anna, and he wants to like give her the best. And he gets himself into some very, very difficult situations and things that he knows he shouldn't be doing, but he gets caught in this cycle. And major things happen in this book when they are young that forces them to grow apart. But then when they get older and they find themselves coming back together, the way that these two were able to heal each other and find forgiveness in themselves because of each other, I loved this. This one also, so I think this one was written, I don't remember when, I'll have to put it on the screen, but it was definitely like, you could tell it's a little bit of an older book just because of the things that would happen and like just drama and one thing after another. You don't really see that much in a lot of the books that are published today, but I ate this one up and I really, really enjoyed it. So if you're looking for like an older backlist book that not many people talk about, or I mean, I've never seen anyone talk about this book, I really liked it. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of speed through these next 3 books because it's the Sacred Stones trilogy that I've read and I did the vlog on. So we have book 1, which is A Dawn of Onyx. I gave this one 4 stars. And then book 2 is A Promise of Peridot. I gave this one 3 stars. And then the last book in the trilogy is A Reign of Rose, and I gave this one 3.5 stars. This is fantasy romance following Arwen and Cain. Arwen is a healer who, in order to save her brother, says that, I will go in his place. I will be the healer for your kingdom, the Onyx Kingdom, in place of my brother. And there she meets Cain, who is not who she thinks that he is. Things go from there. Very just, I would say like fun, easy to read fantasy romance. If you've, never read a fantasy romance and you are looking for a good place to start, this would be it. Good banter. Not a whole lot of spice throughout here either. Like this first book, there's really no spice. Book 2, I think, had like a little bit. And then obviously you do get a little more in book 3, but nothing, I think, too major, at least in my opinion. And then I read The Baby Blitz by Lex Martin. In this book, we are following Ollie and Maggie. This is a college football brother's best friend surprise pregnancy romance. So Ollie and Maggie, they were really good friends when they were younger, and she hears some very not nice things that Ollie says about her. So she, at that point, decides, yeah, we're no longer friends and I hate you. And so she starts doing these like harmless little pranks on him. And they've never had that relationship that they had before. And they both are attending a wedding and they decide to call it a truce. And that truce leads to them hooking up. And then that leads to her being pregnant with twins. So yeah, this one, there was a lot going on in this book, there's a lot of drama in here too, but again, it was the type that I really eat up. So I really liked this one. I gave it 4 stars. I also just talked about this in my surprise pregnancy book recommendations video. So if you want a little more, you can go and watch that one, but it was cute. I really liked it. Okay. Then I read The Favorites by Lane Fargo. I have been seeing this book everywhere. People were raving about the audiobook, and I would highly, highly recommend, if you are going to read this book, read the audio. There is a full cast, and it is definitely like, think Daisy Jones and the Six-esque, where it's like they're interviewing people and they're telling their stories, sort of like a documentary type book, that style. It was so freaking good. Now, I did have some problems with sort of the end of the book, but we'll get there. So my rating for this one is like maybe 4 stars, 4.5 stars. I haven't fully decided. I think on Goodreads I put it at 4, or maybe I didn't put anything at all. I don't know. But we're following Kat and Heath, and this follows from when they're very young to when they are adults. This is literally spanning like pretty much their entire lives. And Kat's mom passed when she was very young, and then her dad passed when she was, I think, a teenager. So her brother had custody of her, and her brother, he was not good. He was an alcoholic, he was abusive, and so the only like real person that she had in her life was Heath. And Heath was sort of an outcast in this town. He was, I think, adopted by a family, but they really wanted nothing to do with him. So he ended up like trying to move in with Kat, but then her brother didn't like him, so he was staying in this like stable house that they had. So just both of them had very rough upbringings, and the one thing that they connected on and the one thing that they found escape in is ice skating. And not, I don't think it's like figure skating specifically, but it's like ice dancing. That doesn't sound right. I need to like figure out what it actually is, because yeah, they were like figure skaters, but they were partners, but they had to do like certain dances. And like, is that figure skating? Am I stupid? I don't know. But Kat has always been very determined, and she's always wanted to get out of their small little town and make it big and go to California. And she thinks that that's what Heath wants to, and she is determined to do whatever she has to do to get there and get to the top. She wants to be an Olympic gold medalist, and she's going to do whatever to get there. And so you follow these 2 young children from, you know, them moving to California, which neither one of them really have money. They've never really seen a whole lot in their life. They've never really been around a lot of ruthless people who, like, wealthy but like willing to rise to the top, that sort of ruthless. And so these young kids are, you know, who don't have any parental figures in their life, very impressionable, are thrust into this world that is very demanding, and just they're not good people, and it takes them a long time to realize that. This book is so messy, it's angsty, it's raw, it is very real. These characters in here are so freaking flawed. I mean, you will want to like slap every character in here. It's like, okay, how can a worse character from the last one that was introduced, like, how can you make them worse? Trust me, they can get worse. Lane Fargo made them worse. I was really, really, really enjoying this and like super enthralled in the story. I mean, throughout the whole story, but there was one sort of plot line that came in around the like 75% mark that I'm like, oh, I don't think we needed this. why was this added in here? And if you've read the book, I hope you know what I'm talking about. But it really was like, oh, I don't like that. So it really took my enjoyment down of the book, but still overall, I would highly recommend this book. And I did have a wonderful time. I really liked how it wrapped up because it wasn't just a perfect bow, you know, wrapped up in a perfect bow is what I'm trying to say. Like a lot of books like this tend to go. It was very like, no, we have, you know, we've done things in our past that, you know, we've made mistakes and that have affected our future and our life now, but here we are and we're going to make the best of it. So this was really, really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Okay, then I've got a disappointment because man, I was so excited for this book, Sin and Redemption by Cora Riley. This is her newest release. It's a standalone, but it's sort of in the Camorra Chronicles, or is it her Born in Blood Mafia Chronicles? I can't remember, but we're following Sarah and Maximus, or Max. So Sarah is engaged to be married to this guy who she likes, but not really. And Max is an enforcer in the Camorra. No, it's not the Camorra because Luca is his boss. So it's the Mafia family. The Chicago Mafia? Oh, it's been a while since I've read those books. Anyway, he's an enforcer in the Mafia. And he is actually sent to pick her up from school one day because her normal ride couldn't make it. And so her dad and everyone trusted Max to go get her and, you know, deliver her home safely. Well, he gets her in the car and he realizes that they are being followed. And then whoever is following them crashes into them and they don't really remember anything until they wake up in a cage. And it is the Russians who have them. And they are wanting revenge on, I guess, Maximus for some of the things that he has done. So they force Max to have sex with Sarah by saying, like, if you don't do this, we will all share her. We will all have a turn with her. And so he thinks like this is the best thing that I can do in this moment. And from that interaction, that's not an interaction. I mean, it is, but from him being forced to sleep with her, she gets pregnant. And so she has to call off her engagement to this guy. And she has decided that she wants to keep the baby and that the best thing to do is to marry Maximus. Trigger warning in here because this was not talked about, and the way that this book is being marketed I think is kind of misleading because it's marketed as an accidental pregnancy, but she loses the baby. But then what really made me just not like it was the fact that instead of her working through her issues from, you know, the situation that happened with the Russians and then her losing the baby, she just decides that she wants to get pregnant. She wants Max to get her pregnant again. And so she does end up getting pregnant again. And it just felt like, okay, that was cheap. Why did we need to have her lose the baby to begin with if you're just going to have her get pregnant later on? I didn't like that at all. And the beginning of this book, the setup, I'm like, ooh, this is going to be so good. And then at that point, when she lost the baby, I'm like, no. But I'm like, okay, let me continue this and see where it goes. Because first of all, like I said, I didn't feel that. I think when it was marketed as accidental pregnancy and then she lost the baby, I'm like, okay, this should not be. Why are you marketing that? Like, this is very triggering for some people. But then just to have her, like I said, get pregnant again, it's like, why did we even need that? Why did we need her to lose the baby to begin with? So I give this one 2 stars. Didn't like it. Nope. And I have such a history with Cora Riley and I love her earlier works, but her new stuff is like just not hitting. It's not been good. And so like, I want to keep reading her, but I keep being let down. So I don't like it. but I keep giving her all of these chances. So at some point I'm just gonna have to break up with her. The last book that I'm gonna talk about in this video is a memoir, and I cannot tell you the last time I actually read a memoir, but this one felt like I had to read it. I had to support her. This is The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie. Now, I feel very weird to be like, I have a long history with this family, but I kind of do. So I'm gonna tell a little story here. So when I was pregnant with Piper, I really enjoyed watching like pregnancy vlogs and like, what do you need as a first-time mom? And I found Ellie and Jared, and she was actually pregnant with her first child. And if you don't know, Ellie and Ruby Frankie are sisters. And so I found Ruby and also Bonnie through Ellie. It's a whole thing. And I watched specifically Ellie and Bonnie for years, and then I would watch Ruby here and there, but I never really got on to her channel, which was 8 Passengers. And I stopped watching them years and years ago because I didn't really like the content anymore. But when all this stuff came out about how just abusive she was, and then she was arrested for, you know, child abuse and just horrific things that have since come out in, you know, the media. When was she arrested? Back in like, was it late 2023 or early 2023? I don't remember, but I just was following along because I knew the family from their videos online. And so when I saw this book, I'm like, I have to. And I actually listened to the audiobook because Sherry herself narrates it. And this was a tough read, to see all that Sherry has been through, and to see the like glimpse sort of behind the camera of what Ruby was really like and what her life was really like, and seeing all the stuff about Jodi Hildebrandt. And this was a tough read, and I feel for Sherry and wish her all the best. So I wanted to support her and read this memoir, and I think it's a good listen. If you're interested in that story at all, definitely give it a go. I gave this 5 stars, and I don't normally rate, like if I'm not going to give a memoir 5 stars or something that is true, that's nonfiction, I won't rate it unless I've given it 5 stars, because I don't know, giving somebody 3 stars on their life, like that just doesn't seem right. So yeah, 5 stars. This was really good. Really good. I liked it a lot. So that is all for my January mid-month wrap up. If you've made it to this point in the video and you'd like to let me know, leave me a cat emoji in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.